Hey everyone, in this video we will be taking a look at one of the most sought out functions, which is the Vlookup. Now I'm sure that everybody knows how to use the normal Vlookup side, but what if you have a scenario where you have duplicated records? Now you'll see that in column B I have names and some of the names are in red font. If I filter this by color, you'll see that these names have duplicates. Although the names have duplicates, they are from different departments, different states, and different wage. So in this scenario, how would you use Vlookup to extract the duplicated records? Before we move on to the solution for Vlookup, if you have Office 365, there is a filter function that makes your life very easy. You can use the filter function to remove duplicates very easily. So let's go ahead and I'll show you the filter function. So I'll type filter. It's asking us for an array. The array is nothing but your complete data set. I'll put a comma and the next argument says include. Now we'd like to include the name column. So I'll select the names and I'll press an equal sign. You'll see that I put an equal sign in the formula bar. And I'm saying that include in this range, it should be equal to my selection, which is here. Now there is a data validation or a drop down here, so that whenever I select the name, my name will change automatically. So I'll close the bracket, press enter, and now you'll see that the filter function has extracted all the records for this selected person. So if I change this now to Marianne, you'll see that now we get the duplicated records for Marianne. Now the filter function works very easily in Office 365. But what if you don't have Office 365? Then you have to turn to Vlookup. So before we start using the Vlookup, let's examine the names. Now we need to use some sort of formula that gives us a sequence of numbers. For example, if we have Carl McIntyre 1, then we should have 1 year. The second instance of Carl McIntyre should be 2, and the third instance of Carl McIntyre should be 3, and so on. So you can insert a column on the left hand side and you can use the COUNTIF function. Now the COUNTIF function is asking us for a range. So you'll select the first cell and you'll use shift and semicolon so that it gives you the same cell reference. That becomes your range. But in this there is a twist. So the first starting point, you need to make it absolute. So I'll click on F4 so we lock this cell. After the range, I'll put a comma and the criteria is going to be the same cell again. Right? Now how this works is, let's say for this first cell, count if the range is B3 to B3. So within the same range, we are counting the person Carl McIntyre. That's 1. Now when we drag it down, when you come to the second instance, what happens is you see that this is the absolute range, but this is relative. So this keeps on changing as we go down. So my range is expanding. If I select this and I click on the F9 key on my keyboard, let me expand this. You'll see that my range has selected for all these names. And within these names, you'll see Carl McIntyre once and Carl McIntyre twice. So within this range, the criteria is for the same person, right? So that's the reason we get number 2. Now I can simply drag this down, right down till my last row. Now since we have the sequence, what we can do is we can add this and concatenate this with the name. So I'll come to the formula cell and I'll use the and sign and I'll click on the name. Click on enter and autofill your cell. So we have 1 for Carl McIntyre, 2 for Carl McIntyre, and 3 for Carl McIntyre. Now we have a sequence of numbers. So now we're going to use the Vlookup function. Before using the Vlookup function, I want to show you the row function. So if I type row in this cell and close the bracket, it gives me row number 15. If I select the first cell or the starting cell, close the bracket, it gives me 1. If I drag it down, it gives me a sequence of numbers, right? So keep that in mind. So I'll type equals Vlookup. What is my lookup value? My lookup value is the name of the person, but the name of the person is concatenated with a serial number, which is in column A. And not only that, we need a sequence of numbers. So inside the Vlookup function, I will use the row function, and the reference is going to be A1. So that will give me the number 1. After the number 1, I will use an AND sign, and I will join it with my lookup value. Now I need to lock this cell, so I'll use the F4 function key. That should give me my lookup value. So if I go to the function area, and if I just select this and click on F9, you'll see that now I'm getting 1 and the name. So far so good. We'll put a comma. Now we need to supply the table array. Now the table array does not begin from here, it begins from here, right? You need to select your table array, lock it, F4 to lock it once, and now for the column. Now if you're just looking for just the name, you can give column number 2. If you're just looking for the department, you can give column number 3, and so on. But in this case, I want it to be dynamic, so that if I drag my formula, it should get me the department, the state, and the wage, right? So the name is in column number 2, the department is number 3, state number 4, and wage number 5. Now similarly, how I've used the row function, there is also a column function. So I'll use the column function here, and I need column number 2. So I can select column B, which is column number 2. Let's close the bracket, and I'll put a comma here, and I'm going to use false for an exact match. Let's close the bracket, press enter. So we get the name, which is correct. Let's drag, and we get HR, which is the department, the state is Ohio, and the wage is $3.82, which is correct. Let's drag it down. So we get the second one, Marianne, who is from the IT department from the state of Florida, and the wage is 2022. So far so good, but we have some errors down below. Now the reason why we have errors down below is because there are no more names which are equal to Marianne. So we can remove these errors by using an if and a function. So just before the Vlookup, I'll use an if and a function. The value is this part. After that, if there is an NA error, then all you need to do is use 2 double quotes, close the bracket, and that should give you a blank. Now let's drag this, and let's drag it down, and now our formula for Vlookup will work with duplicates. So now let's check. Let's use Carl McIntyre. You have 3 records, 3 records. Let's choose any other person. You have all the records from the Vlookup, and you have a spill error from the filter function. Now the spill error function, why this is happening is because there are around 6 rows, and there are not enough any rows here. So all I need to do is drag this formula down, and now you'll see that I have 6 rows here, and I have 6 rows here as well. So I hope you found this video useful. If you have the Office 365, you can use the filter function. If you don't have Office 365, then you can use the Vlookup function, and you can use the Vlookup function to remove duplicates as well. Thank you for watching, and I'll leave a description for my courses on Udemy. If you'd like to join in my courses, I have some advanced course in Excel macros and Power BI. Thank you.